Okay, welcome back to my channel. You know, I've been promising to rebuild. This is my Husqvarna 445, and recently I bought a new one because this one quit working. And it was running, but then you would give it throttle and it would die. And it's about 3 years old, and I know it needs carburetor work. So you're going to need a couple things, and let me show you right here on Amazon where I got those things. Okay, the first thing you need is to order a carburetor for this. And you can see right up here, this fits the Husqvarna 445. You can get one of these on Amazon right now for $18.98. And it comes with the filter, the carburetor, gaskets, spark plug, fuel filter, fuel pressure plunger, and some hose. And that's really all you need. The other thing you're going to need is one of these carburetor adjustment toolkit, because it has these little tiny socket heads, and it's also got some kind of Allen heads. And that's, well, you can see the configuration. There's a star, a little screwdriver. These are all specialty things for small carburetors. And this costs $10.79. So get yourself one of these. And those are the only two things that we're going to use today to get this thing back up and running. So let's go over to the table and we'll take this thing apart and put these in and get this thing going. Once you purchase the two kits, so right here's the carburetor kit, and here's a little tool kit for adjusting, for working on small engines. Basically this is a bunch of little different, and there's a couple of these you need for this one. I'm not sure which one it is yet, but I will definitely show you in just a second. The first thing we're going to do is, I don't believe there's a lot of gas in here, but let's check, make sure. Yeah, it's pretty low. So we should be able to change this air. First thing I'm going to do is change the fuel filter. That's an easy one to do. Here's all the parts that come with it. You got a new air filter. You have the carburetor. You got a new spark plug. Here's the fuel filter right here. It's got like a ball in it. Here's the plunger where you kind of prime up the fuel. You get a couple gaskets and a hose. So I'm going to readjust the camera straight down so you can see me work on this, and we'll see how this goes.
Work hard, get dough. I can't get no sleep, which make my life more simple. But I wouldn't trade a thing for what I have. I go hard, do what I need to make it last. They say the good die young, I hope I'm bad. Cheers to my past.
Okay, right off the bat, the first thing I'm gonna do is change this fuel filter. And I'm gonna use some little tiny, these are some needle nose pliers, to reach in there and get the hose. And right there you can see there's the fuel filter. It doesn't look terrible, but it is pretty dirty. Now I've got some shop rags here. One thing I did prior to starting this project is I did go through the whole machine. Now you see that seems pretty loose right there. So I'm going to use these little cutters, and I'm just going to cut a small section of this off. And see if that can't tighten up. There we go. So there I got the fuel filter back on. That's the first project. We'll throw that back in there. And if it's full of fuel, you probably want to empty it out. This didn't have much fuel in it, so no problem. And you can see the dirty filter right there. It's pretty dirty compared to that one I just put in. Okay, next up we'll turn it sideways here. We're going to pop our lid off. And Look at this fuel. Look at the difference in the air filter. And I did recently blow this one out. But we're going to change this. But we're not going to change it yet because we need to change the whole carburetor first. So we'll put our dirty parts over there. Now there's a couple things right here. The carburetor is held on by these little rubber gaskets right here. So you want to pop these off. First we need to take an Allen wrench and unscrew these. Okay, basically pull the, you see these little rubber grommets right there. You can basically pull it out of there. You can disconnect your plunger right here. It's got two hoses on the side of the carburetor. And that's the start of it. Get my big hands out of the way. So really the first thing you do is pull the air cleaner off. Pull these 4 Allen wrenches out, Allen bolts. And that'll bring this whole lid off here. And kind of carefully take that off. You got some electrical right here. We can leave this actually connected, and we'll just set it aside for now. We'll leave these screws in. Okay, and there's the carburetor. Now you can see it's looking pretty dirty, so we want to get that thing out of there. What we're going to need to do is disconnect this little choke right here. It's hard to see it, but there's a certain way it kind of comes out of there. Okay, now we should have one more hose down here. You can see it. Actually no, that's all the hoses. So we got a throttle cable, and that's the next thing we need to disconnect right here. Okay, so here's your old carburetor. And you could save this for parts, I guess, but for $12 you can get a brand new one. Okay, now we do have a gasket in there. So one of the main things, make sure everything's really clean. Now this one has an O-ring gasket. I think I'm going to go with the existing gasket. It's a rubberized O-ring gasket, and it looks good. And it looks better. If I pull that off, the gaskets that came with the new carburetor do not look as good. So I'm going to go ahead and use the ones that I have in there. First thing I'm going to do is I've got a couple hoses here. I've got this one that's plugged off, so I'm going to unplug this. And I'm going to get that plugged in. This sits down like that, so this goes right there. Okay. The next thing I want to do is put this throttle cable back on here as easy as I can. Last one was a little hard, but this one was a little easier. And then we're going to put this choke throttle on right there, choke controller. Okay, we got both the side hoses on, fuel in and out, and then we need a little short piece, just that one. Really the only hose I had to replace was this little plunger hose, and I'm hoping that I got it on the right one. Okay, so right there we're in our spot. Now we're going to fish these wires down through here a little bit. We're going to hook the choke up on this side before we do any bolting or anything. Kind of get it lined up. Right there. Okay. Okay, we're actually looking pretty good here. Now let's go ahead and hook up these little rubber motor mounts, carburetor mounts. Okay, we are in position now. Okay, everything, all hoses are hooked back up. Now we're going to bolt this thing back together. Small bolts go on the top. Big ones go on the bottom. Okay, that's all those tightened. Throttle cable's still working. Fuel plunge or primer's working. So we got our choke working good. Everything hooked up. We're going to look at the parts that we have. Got a little bit of dust in here. Put our new air filter on. Okay, next up, spark plug. Okay, really, if we did everything right, if everything's hooked up right, this is our last little thing, is this spark plug. And everything that I installed came in that kit. Very reasonable priced. I think the kit, well, I showed you a link. I got it at Amazon. Okay, we're right there. Supposedly we're in business. Now is where these little tools come in handy. So on this side, these two holes right here. So once you find the right wrench, these are throttle controls. Go all the way, we'll turn them all the way off, as far as they'll go. That one's off, and now we're going to come back a half a turn, and then we'll do the same on the other one. Go all the way off, and then we're going to come back a half a turn. Okay, we're going to try to start it and see what happens. Okay, there you go. It was a little trickier than I thought. There was a couple little things that didn't seem like they snapped in super good. But all in all, actually, after looking at the way that throttle cable went in there, it turned out you know, I was just doing it wrong. So, but yeah, you need so for you need 7/8 socket for your spark plug. You need to get this special little kit. I got this on Amazon. I linked it for doing the throttle adjustment, and then you also need a little tiny screwdriver to do the other adjustment. But basically, the kit comes with everything you need, and I think this thing's back up and running now. So now I gotta, and this is, I really like this. I mean, I got the bigger Husqvarna Rancher. It's a 24-inch, but this one's a lot lighter and smaller. So if I'm just trimming the edges of the trees and stuff, this one's a good one for doing that. And you really do need a spare chainsaw if you're up here. It's nice to have one that's, you know, if you always have two that are running, if one breaks down, you still can get another one. Anyway, yeah, a little messy. It's a little bit of a messy project, but it wasn't something that, I think anybody could do it. And this is the first one I've ever done. And it looks like it's working pretty good. Yeah, it's even idling really nice. I cleaned it all up before I started on this project, but you can still, it still was pretty dirty. They get abused pretty bad. Anyway, thanks very much for always watching these videos, and yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you for giving me a thumbs up and subscribing, and I will see you next time. Later.
Work hard, get dough. I can't get no sleep, which make my life more simple. But I wouldn't trade a thing.